Hi, my name is Scott, and I have read all of the Harry Potter books multiple times. I've seen all of the movies, and like most of my peers, I continue to be a Harry Potter enthusiast to this day.
And I'm Becki, and I have never read a Harry Potter book or seen any of the films, which makes me the ultimate Muggle.
Join us as we make our way through each book, section by section, where Becki will make predictions about what she thinks will happen next.
And Scott will try to convince me why it's a good series, worth reading, and maybe even worth loving.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the last episode of Season 1 of A Muggle's Guide to Hogwarts.
We did it!
We did it! We made it through the book. This is a show where we explore the Harry Potter series with a ultimate Muggle, someone who has never read the books, have never seen the movies, and literally never wants to. But we asked her very nicely to do it for this podcast. And here we are at the end of book 1. We just finished reading through the final 2 chapters of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And we're here to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, just to remind everyone, chapter 16 and 17, the last 2 chapters of the book, are the ones that we're covering here. And chapter 16 is called Through the Trapdoor, and chapter 17 is called The Man with Two Faces. And to very quickly sum up what happens, Harry and the gang go through the trapdoor under Fluffy. They go through a series of tasks and challenges and have to beat a number of enchantments to get to the final chamber where Harry discovers Quirrell is the guy helping Voldemort trying to get the Sorcerer's Stone, and then something happens and everything works out in the end. And that's the end of the book.
Crazy.
I know. So what did you think?
First of all, I also think that my predictions were fairly close. I mean, definitely some of the details were wrong. But them kind of like going through the sets of rooms and riddles was really interesting and very cinematic. I'm actually excited to see kind of like that portion in the movie, if they do it the same or how they do it. That could be very cool.
Yeah, your predictions were very spot on. I mean, I did help you out a little bit because I gave you like the chambers, the major chambers.
Right.
I said there's the chamber with Devil's Snare, the chamber with the keys, the chamber with the potions and whatnot. So I wanted to set you up with that, and I didn't want to be like, there's the underground, I don't know, chambers.
Yeah.
I wanted to help you out a little bit. But I think that helped a lot because you were really, really good with your predictions. What impressed me was you knew, like when I said chamber with the keys, you knew that there would be like hundreds of keys and they would have to find the right key to get through.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily picture them being these like weird bird-like creatures. I thought it was just like the walls would be lined with keys, you know? Yeah, the bird thing. I felt really bad for that bird key that got like shoved in and he had a little bent wing.
Yeah.
That was sad.
It's a key. It's not a real live living thing.
Is it a key or is it a bird?
No, it's a key. It's a key that was enchanted by Professor Flitwick to fly around.
But does it have a brain if it has to fly around?
No. It's a key. It's an inanimate object that has been animated.
But it's a little bit sad to think about, a crumpled wing.
I know the way they describe it, like after they shove it in the door.
Yeah.
It's like it flew away. I don't know what they say.
I don't know. It just was personified,
crumpled
like
or
a bit too much to think of it as an inanimate object.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to do that, but yeah, you were spot on about the key prediction. You were also pretty good with chess because you knew that Ron would take the lead in the chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And I also liked how you mentioned that you thought Harry would use his seeker skills.
Yeah, which did not really come into play
Well,
for that section.
it didn't happen right where you thought it would happen, but it did happen with the keys.
Yeah.
And they even mentioned, like, Harry, the youngest seeker in a century, was going to catch that key.
Yeah.
And then they did.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Let's back up to chapter 16 because I feel like a lot of stuff happened to set up the chambers. First of all, what is a snuff box?
I don't know.
It said something about all of these ornamental snuff boxes, and to me that just sounds like a place you keep your drugs.
Well, that was something they had to transfigure. They transfigured something in, like a rat into a snuff box.
Yeah.
I don't know what a snuff box is. Yeah, it makes me think of drugs, but maybe it's like something normal.
Maybe it's something normal. Maybe it's like a little rat house.
I don't think it's a rat house, but maybe it's just more normal in British culture.
Professor McGonagall watched them turn a mouse into a snuff box. Points were given for how pretty the snuff box was.
Here, I'll look it up. I'll look up what a snuff box is. Hold on.
Turned a mouse into a snuff box.
Okay. According to dictionary.com, a snuff box is a small ornamental box for holding snuff.
For holding snuff? So is it like a little pill box?
And
like a little
snuff,
Altoid can type thing?
And snuff is powdered tobacco that is sniffed up the nostril rather than smoked. Yeah, that's what we thought it was.
Okay, yeah.
So that seems a little weird.
Yeah, they're 11.
Yeah, that seems a bit odd. Okay, well,
now we know. Another thing that was weird to me was when like the kids were like, playing outside after their exams and they were just casually tickling a giant squid.
Yeah. You haven't heard much about the giant squid, have you?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, there's a giant squid that lives in the lake in Hogwarts.
No, they haven't mentioned it yet. I
guess not. Maybe they haven't.
It seemed so random. And also giant squid are very dangerous.
Also, they don't live in lakes.
Also, like, it was just thrown out there so casually.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really funny. If it gets brought up again, I guess that makes sense. But I was just like...
It's just another magical thing about the Hogwarts grounds,
But it's not magical. It's not like a unicorn. Like, it's not like a fantasy animal.
Well, it's magical in the respect that it can be tickled by students and it lives in a lake. But it comes up every once in a while. Like throughout the series, you hear about the giant squid. It's just there. It's just this giant squid that's there.
It's
that
like
lives
the
in
resident giant squid in the lake.
Every once in a while it comes up.
What does it eat?
I don't know.
Children.
Yes, bad students.
Yeah, that's what happens when they get expelled.
They get expelled. They get thrown right into the lake.
Gosh.
I really like the idyllic way they describe what they do after exams because I feel like I relate to that going through school after an exam. I would just like want to go outside and lay down on a hill and be warmed by the sun and not think about anything that just happened,
Yeah. Was the only reason they were still there was to get their grades a week later? Because that's not really a thing. You just like take your exam and you go home and you get your grades whenever they're posted,
They made it sound like they just have a week to relax. There's also the Quidditch game that Harry misses because he's in the hospital wing. So that still happens.
Okay, so there's a Quidditch game, and I guess they have their big banquet.
And they have the banquet.
Maybe there were some other like post-school fun activities.
I think it's kind of nice, like just to get a week off, just to relax at Hogwarts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm just saying like that just doesn't really happen.
At my school, where I went to college, there was a senior week at the end of classes. After all the students had gone, seniors would hang out for a week before graduation.
Well, that makes sense because you have graduation.
Yeah.
But
it kind of made me think of that kind of scenario.
Okay.
But that every student gets to experience.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. I don't think much else happened except, well,
the fluffy thing happened in that chapter.
All the chambers happened in that chapter. All of the chambers are in that chapter. But also they learn that Hagrid is a terrible drunk and gives out really critical information.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, I think you kind of a little bit ruined that last episode where you're talking about the pub. I just thought it was literally just some random guy he gambled to, but I didn't, then they made us think that it was Voldemort for a while because he was the hooded figure, right? So then they found out how to get past Fluffy, and they saw all the pieces coming into place, and
we also learned that Professor McGonagall doesn't take students seriously when they bring up really important things that they shouldn't know about.
Right.
Yeah, because she just wrote them off.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that Dumbledore can be easily tricked by a fake letter
right.
calling him to the Ministry of Magic. We also know that he apparently takes the slowest form of travel to the Ministry of Magic. Later, so this is interesting to me because this is, I think, a glimpse into the insight of how J.K. Rowling is developing this world in the book series.
Mm-hmm.
Because later on, we learn that there's this thing called apparition, where wizards can just disappear and reappear wherever they want. And actually, now that I think about it, this happens at the beginning of this book, is Dumbledore apparates to where Harry lives, Privet Drive. He just shows up there. It's also revealed later in the book series that wizards cannot apparate on school grounds. Like the Hogwarts grounds are protected. They have some enchantment that prevents that from happening. But you can apparate right outside of school grounds and then just walk into school grounds. And so it's weird to me that Dumbledore, being like the most powerful wizard ever, would fly to London. They said he flew off to London.
Right. On like a broom or...
I'm assuming on a broom or some other form of flying travel. But it's weird to me that he wouldn't just like pop over outside of school grounds, apparate away, realize it was a mistake, and then be back in like 30 seconds rather than it taking all night.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's odd to me. But I think that's a little bit of insight into like how the world was developing, and she wasn't sure of like all of what was allowed and all the magical things that existed.
Right. And they had to get Dumbledore away, and then...
Yeah, it's important for the story.
Okay, let's talk about the chambers. First of all, they fall for miles? It says they're miles under the school. And like, how long would you have to fall for miles?
Not only that, but the corridor where Fluffy is on the 3rd floor.
Sure.
So they're above, they're a few floors above like the ground level of the castle. And then there's like dungeons and lower levels in the castle. And they enter this hatch and they think they're miles underneath of the school.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just naivete.
I guess. I mean, I liked they used the visual, like that the trapdoor light was the size of a postage stamp. So like I can visualize that. Like that's a pretty big fall. So like they fell for quite a few seconds and then maybe plopped. But miles, I just feel like would take like, I don't know, minutes.
So just to give you some perspective, the lowest point, the deepest point on the planet is Challenger Deep in the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, that's like 7 miles.
That's 7 miles. It's almost 7 miles. And the Grand Canyon is only a mile down. So they fell somewhere between the Grand Canyon in depth and the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, okay, if you fall at 30 feet per second, I don't feel like doing the math right now, but I just feel like miles was a pretty big exaggeration.
And it would probably, like kids just overestimating how far they actually fell.
It reminds me of the scene in Spy Kids, which is like one of my guilty pleasure movies from when I was younger and maybe still to this day. Have you ever seen where they fall for like hours?
Oh my goodness. I haven't seen Spy Kids in a very long time.
It actually might be in Spy Kids too, if that tells you how much of a dork I am. But they fall for like hours, and then finally it's revealed that it's just like an air shaft. They're just being like, they just feel like they're falling, but it's just like air blowing up and they only fell like 40 feet or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I pictured if they were falling for miles.
That's pretty funny. And I think it's just supposed to emphasize like they feel like they're
it's way down there.
Down and
I get
isolated.
it. Yeah. That plant must have been like super soft and like absorbing to fall for that long though.
Yeah, it must be a very comfortable plant.
Even like water would feel like concrete. So yeah, it must have been like the memory foam of plants.
Oh man, now I want to land on that plant.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I did not know that devil's snare was a plant.
You said maybe it's a flower. You did say that. Yeah.
Huh.
You were confused for a little bit because I wrote devil's snare instead of the devil's snare.
Yeah.
And then you were like, maybe it's a flower. So you were you thought about it.
Okay. Good for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember saying it was some kind of trap or a drum, but I was pretty sure it wasn't a drum. What
was your favorite challenge chamber with a enchantment they had to get by?
I think probably the potions one,
yeah,
the riddle one.
I thought it would be that one.
Yeah, I remember problems like that, like logic problems from my younger days where it was like 2 people, but this person, not this person, and you had to kind of like figure out certain things. That was interesting. I also liked how Hermione slid in there that like a lot of wizards don't have logic because they rely on their magic, which is kind of a funny thing to think about. Because doesn't she come from a home that's like split, or she comes from Muggle parents?
She comes from strictly Muggle parents.
Okay, so she kind of has an advantage, I guess, a little bit because she hasn't grown up relying on magic the same way that like the Weasleys might have.
Exactly. She knows how to think logically, where a lot of wizards don't because they just use magic to solve all their problems.
Yeah, that's interesting. That was a cool one. And I even liked the room, how it was set up with like black fire on one side and purple fire on the other side.
What'd you think of the chess match?
It was interesting, but I thought it could have been more interesting, if that makes sense.
We're going to watch the movie next, but I'm pretty sure in the movie they reenact like a famous chess match that wins in the same way that Ron won in the book.
Oh, like a famous chess match from real life?
Yeah, from real life. I'm pretty sure that like the moves and the positions, people have pinpointed what specific
game?
Match. Yeah.
Nice.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I did like it because, I mean, you and I play chess a lot, so it was interesting to see that. But I felt like it could have been built up a little more. Honestly, I felt like they rushed through the chambers a lot. I felt like half the book could have been the chambers. It was just like, we have to solve this problem. Great, it's this one. Let's go.
Chapter 16 was bam, 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 bam. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
It happened so quickly.
Yeah. I felt like there could have been a little more development. We could have really seen what the stakes were on the chess game, because as it was, we didn't really know what was going on. We just had to, know that Ron's horse had to be taken. Yeah, it was cool. I did not anticipate kind of like Harry having to do the final moments alone. That Ron and Hermione both had reasons that they couldn't follow him to the final chamber. So that was interesting. I thought they would all be there together, like I said, like beating the big boss guy or whatever. But I understand why they did it. They needed to even show more like that dichotomy, that good versus evil, that Harry versus Voldemort and V-Dog. And what a twist that it was Professor Quirrell and not Snape.
I know.
Do you remember reading that when you were like young and first reading it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, when I was young.
Uh-huh.
I really thought it was going to be Snape.
Oh, yeah.
I was very shocked when it was Quirrell and very confused.
Really?
And luckily, Quirrell explains everything immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because the whole book, he's, stuttering and he kind of seems like Snape's lackey. And then it kind of just turns everything on its head, which is really interesting. And then they found out that Quirrell was the reason they met him, the reason we met him at the bar before we met any of the other professors was because he was also there to go to Gringotts and potentially steal the Sorcerer's Stone. So that was a nice tie-in. But yeah, so Professor Quirrell's the bad guy. That's pretty crazy.
And Snape was trying to save Harry the entire time.
Yeah, that's a little unbelievable for the way he's been treating him this whole time, but I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, Snape's a dick.
Yeah, kinda.
He's a total dick.
Yeah, he's a D-bag. Then there's Quirrell is like half of his body is inhabited by Voldemort, which is crazy. And you did a really creepy voice for Voldemort that scared me, coming out of like the back of someone's head. So does his head turn around, or is it just like the back of his head?
It's just the back of his head. Because in the book, they mentioned that Quirrell is like walking backwards to try and get close to Harry so Voldemort can see him. So it's just the back of his head, and then Quirrell's facing the other way and walking backwards trying to direct Voldemort around.
Yeah, that's funny.
So they try and set up that Voldemort is in the turban, or they like give hints about Voldemort being in the turban throughout the book because they talk about this weird smell in the turban. They even at one point talk about Fred and George like throwing snowballs at the back of his head to hit his turban. So that's kind of funny to think about.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, that's like there's little subtle clues throughout the book about how the plot is gonna turn out.
Yeah, that would be you'd have to go back and read it and actively look for them. Yeah, and then I think my biggest kind of ooh, that was really cool, but I'm not sure I quite get it, is how the stone got into Harry's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Harry's trying to look at the mirror and he's trying to really make sure the thing he wants most in the world is to find the stone.
Mm-hmm.
Quirrell doesn't know how the mirror works and is trying to find a secret knob or a secret compartment or something because he doesn't know where the stone is either. So did Dumbledore just put a spell on this stone when he hid it down here?
Yeah, Dumbledore did something with the stone and the mirror, and so he changed the enchantment on the mirror to be you have to want to find the stone but not want to use the stone. So someone that came up to that mirror that wanted to find the stone but not use the stone would get the stone. And that's what Harry did. Harry said, I want most in the world right now is to get the stone before Quirrell does. And so he was able to get the stone, and the stone just fell into his pocket. But Quirrell, whose intention was to use it for his master, would never be able to get it.
Right. See, but to me, that's not changing the enchantment on the mirror. The mirror is still just showing you what your biggest desire is, right?
Yeah.
But so the enchantment had to be put on the stone.
Yeah, you might be right.
But there's still a tiny bit of a missing link, and I think they're just banking on don't think too hard about it.
That's what a lot of this book is. A lot of this book is don't think too hard. This is just fun. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a cool, a very cool, almost I don't know, a Fight Club type ending where it's oh, then the stone's in my pocket.
Yeah.
Where it's a cool image of him looking at it, seeing where to find it, and then noticing it's already on him. That is cool. But I think, yeah, you just have to kind of skate over the wait, so what?
I would also like to point out that this challenge with the mirror makes every other one null because there's no way to get the stone unless you don't want to use it. And so anyone that's trying to get the stone presumably would be wanting to get the stone to use the stone. So all you need is that mirror.
Right.
Put that mirror
City Hall.
Put anywhere.
Yeah.
Put that mirror anywhere and no one's going to be able to get it.
Sure.
That made every other challenge prior to that kind of irrelevant. And also, why would any challenges let you move past the challenge? You're trying to protect the stone. So why would it be find a key to unlock the door to get closer to the stone? Why wouldn't it be just you can't get past this challenge? This is a wall that you can't get past.
Right. I don't know.
It just seems like it's inviting people to try and get the stone.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, it's possible that Dumbledore hadn't figured that out yet and hadn't, like, he wanted to do something with the mirror, but he hadn't quite decided what to do. And so maybe those other challenges were important at the beginning, but later on he figured out something that would be impenetrable. It also makes everything that Harry and his friends do pointless. Like, if Harry wasn't there at the end, Quirrell would never have found the stone. Dumbledore would have showed up, and then
It's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, like, again.
just be a student, go through school, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Quirrell could have never found it without Harry being there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I feel like a lot of these stories are like that.
Really?
Yeah, once we read some of the other books, you'll see what I mean.
Okay, so then Quirrell can't touch Harry's skin because love.
Because love.
Because his mother loved him so much when he was a baby that someone so evil can't touch him.
Isn't that so unsatisfying as an answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really is unsatisfying to me.
Well,
Harry, it's because your mom loved you. That's why you survived.
A mother's love. Yeah, and it's funny, kind of to tie it back to like our very first episode where I talked about how I wasn't allowed to read it because of my parents being uber religious, but I was allowed to read like Narnia and all these other things because they were like kind of like direct Christian parallels. I could totally see a way that this book could be spun in like a Christian way. Like, and I think there actually even are books that have already done this, but like it just, you know, like he's untouchable because of this love that, and the evil can't get to him. Like I could totally see that. So it just to me like further shows like the ridiculousness of like why this was such a banned book and why this is still kind of a taboo topic. Like it's all arbitrary. Like you're just picking and choosing what magic you want to believe in and what you don't.
Well, people that are against Harry Potter are against it because on the surface level, it's about witches and magic. And that's it.
So is Narnia.
Yeah, but that book is made very clear that it's about Christmas.
Yeah.
The main
Christmas?
point. Isn't it about Christmas?
I mean, not all about Christmas.
Isn't that the whole plot?
Is
that winter is there, but no Christmas ever shows up? It's always winter, but no Christmas?
That's kind of like subtext, like not subtext,
I
but
haven't
like
read
subplot.
Narnia in a long time.
Maybe we'll do a podcast where we read Narnia.
Right.
Actually, I don't think I think I'm good on that. But yeah, I guess I'm just pointing out that like it's ridiculous. It could totally be shown through the same lens if you wanted it to. I mean, all of it's just stories of good versus evil. Anyway, yeah, his mother's love protected him. Even in her death, he is protected from evil. And I don't know, is that going to like be the way he continues to fight evil for the rest of this series? Like, if that's true.
This mother's love thing, this love thing, magic.
This love thing, magic.
It is a reoccurring thing.
Uh-huh.
And it's pretty important.
Okay.
It's not only that, you know, his parents loved him and his mom loved him, but it's that she sacrificed herself to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the other books go into detail about how it represents this kind of more ancient magic and a type of magic that Voldemort can't understand because he doesn't understand love.
Because his mother didn't love him.
Right. He doesn't understand love. He doesn't understand what it would mean to make a sacrifice like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a prominent thing that comes up many times throughout the series, but it is also always a little unsatisfying to me. So that'll come up a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so then Harry like passes out pretty much or gets unconscious. And Dumbledore, I guess, did come back just in the nick of time and save him. And I thought that the end had a lot of charm to it, especially with like Dumbledore kind of talking to Harry and giving him some more information. And then like the Mr. Bot's beans, is that what it's called?
Bertie Bott's every flavored beans.
Yes, those come back in and like exactly what happened to you whenever we did the bean thing happened to him when I like tried to give you like a nice flavor and he was like, oh, earwax.
Yeah.
That was a nice tie-in. Then the whole thing ended. I'm obviously very disappointed that Harry has to go back and live with the Dursleys for the summer again, since they're, abusive. But hopefully he's in a little bit of better spirits now, and he has his friends and he has something to look forward to.
I also want to point out that you got the whole House Cup thing right, too.
Well,
you were like, McGonagall's going to hand out 1 million points to Gryffindor.
yeah.
And that is such a Harry Potter meme of Dumbledore just going like, fuck Slytherin, fuck all the other houses. You guys get just the right amount of points to win. That's...
Yeah, it's like, okay, I know we're on that side, but like those other houses worked really hard to earn.
Everything's already decorated for Slytherin, but fuck you guys.
Also, Neville coming in with the final 10 points. Like, what is this Neville character? And why is he...
It's funny to me that you are confused by Neville. I like that a lot.
Why does he doesn't really like move the plot forward, and he's not really that likable. And he gets the final 10 arbitrary points for trying to stop his friends from doing it. It's so silly. It's so silly.
Yeah.
Oh man. But
Ron,
then
you played
it was
a great
over.
game of chess. Here's 50 points.
Yeah.
Hermione, you figured out a puzzle. Here's 50 points. Harry, I'm going to give you 10 more points because you're more special than both Ron and Hermione.
Yeah.
So here's 60 points. Neville, why don't you get some points too? Gryffindor needs doing this. So it's so funny.
Yeah, it really is. I just don't really quite understand like the points thing. I'm trying to think like what is the equivalent in Muggle world. I don't know. I guess like sometimes there would be contests at school, and if you're class 1, you get a pizza party or something.
Yeah.
Just like bragging rights.
It's just bragging rights.
I mean, they're all there at the feast.
It's just a way of unifying the houses and, I don't know, friendly competition, but it's not
People
very
take it
friendly.
way too seriously.
Yeah. It's pretty intense, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how the book ended.
Yeah. So was this supposed to be a standalone book, or was it clearly setting up for a series?
I think it was clearly setting up for a series because this is the first year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the intention was she would write 7 books for the 7 years. I think that was originally the intention. But I think at this point in her story writing, and people may disagree with me, and that's okay, but I believe that she had no fucking clue what the hell was going to happen. And there are several reasons I think that. I'll have to reveal some of them later on when we're going through some of the other books.
Okay.
But I think she wrote this, and it can serve as a standalone book. Like, here is Harry's first year at Hogwarts, and he goes home, and like it wraps up nicely. Like, if there was only one book written, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the second book. It's kind of in a similar format where if there's only 2 books written, that's okay. And then I think in the third book, she starts to think about the larger story and how things are tied together and where it's going to go from there. So I think the third book is when it opens up and you actually start learning about lore and more in depth in the characters, and more important characters are introduced. But I think the first book especially is just, here's a fun book. It's for kids. It's about magic. Everything works out nicely. But clearly, like, Voldemort is still hanging around. They even say, like, he might come back.
Is he still in Quirrell's? I guess they didn't really say if Quirrell, like, died.
Yeah, Quirrell's dead.
Quirrell is dead.
Yeah. Quirrell's dead.
Harry killed a person.
Yes.
Harry killed a real person by burning his skin alive.
Technically, I think people would argue that Voldemort killed him because Dumbledore said that Voldemort fled. And then when Voldemort let his body, he wasn't strong enough to like survive. So I think technically it would be Harry didn't kill this person.
Well, it was also clearly
Quirrell.
self-defense.
Yeah.
But, he murdered someone with his bare hands, and he's got to live with that.
Yeah. He's okay with it.
Even if
he
it
never,
was...
he never really thinks about it ever again. It's fine.
No guilty conscience.
No, he's good. But yeah, so I think this is a standalone book. I think J.K. Rowling really had not thought about the ending of the series. She knew, like, at the end of the series, Harry will be done 7 years at school and probably defeat Voldemort somehow. But there are so many things that get introduced very late in the story that are very critical that I think a lot of things she just kind of adds in when she realizes that she needs to.
Yeah, I think one of the like overarching themes, which I think, since I'm not doing any predictions, I think maybe we just wanted to talk about the series as a whole or larger themes for the series. But they mentioned, I think Dumbledore, when he's talking to Harry in the hospital, mentions that Voldemort can't die.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Harry's going to have to figure out a way to get Voldemort to like actually die. And that's going to be something that is kind of like the big showdown.
Yeah, once Harry figures out how to actually kill him.
Probably more love, maybe? More mother's love?
It's probably just lots of love. If he
LOL,
can, if he
lots
can
of
grow
love.
to love Voldemort, that will defeat
Yeah,
him.
maybe that's how you defeat him. You love him.
Maybe that's it. I want to talk about your overall thoughts of the book.
All in all, I thought the book was decent. I thought it was clever. There were some really fun moments. There were clearly a lot of like plot holes and things like that under development that you have to just kind of like go with. But I'm also reading this as a 34-year-old person and not an 11-year-old child.
Yeah.
So that might play into it. I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed a lot of the characters. I wouldn't say that I'm like super invested in like a big overarching story yet. So maybe in the next book, or like you said, in the third book, if it starts kind of like getting more fleshed out, I'll be a little more invested. But right now I'd be like, oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think if you read this as an 11-year-old kid, you're just mystified by what's going on and you're caught up in the magic of it. And you also see yourself in Harry's shoes, you know, or in Hogwarts, and you want to experience that. And I think that's really special. And that's why a lot of people or young children gravitate to the series. But I do think that the story actually gets good in book 3.
Okay.
So for you as an adult who's not as mystified by the book series, maybe you'll feel more invested in it when we get to book 3.
Okay.
Yeah. What was your least favorite character in the story? Is it Neville?
No, I don't hate Neville. He's just like, what is he doing there? My least favorite character. I'm trying to think. Because my least favorite would be someone that like either didn't make sense or Peeves was just kind of like stupid to me. Like, I don't know. I think he's supposed to be like fun, but he was just kind of annoying.
Yeah. He's definitely annoying. What was your most favorite character?
I think I like Dumbledore.
It's not Harry or Hermione or Ron?
I really appreciated and liked how good of a friend Harry was, and he was always standing up for his friends. And I thought he was very brave, especially for being abused all his life, that he was still able to stand up for injustices. And I really respected that. And I think Hermione is growing on me, but we'll see. Still a little annoying.
Okay. Okay, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
How does it feel now that you're not the ultimate Muggle?
Oof. I felt that one. It's a little odd. Even like at the beginning of the podcast when you kind of, do your spiel and you're like someone who's never read the books and never seen the movies. And I'm like, oof, can't say that anymore.
You're indoctrinated.
Not so much that. I will say that it has changed my life in small ways. Like you and I will now actually make Harry Potter references together. So instead of like something happening and you looking at me and being like, oh yeah, you don't know anything about that. And just kind of like joking with me in that way. There have been a few instances, either you have said something and I've understood, or I've made a Harry Potter reference. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember one. But so it's just changed that dynamic a little bit. How has that been? Can I ask, how has that been for you? Like, do you like that I am in on some of these things now? Like, how do you feel about it?
Yes, of course I like it. This was clearly just a ploy to get you to read the book. This is what I had to do to get you to read the book with me.
We're not even actually releasing these episodes, are we? This is all like...
I had to set up a whole fake podcast and dedicate all of this time just to get you to read the book with me.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I'm super pumped that I can make... I think I made one last night. We were watching a movie or something, and I said... I forget what I said, but I made a Harry Potter reference, and you were like, I get that reference. And I was like, yeah, of course you do.
Yeah,
It's nice.
It's nice?
Yes, it's wonderful.
There are still things, there's still a lot of things I don't know, though. Like, I'll see, memes or whatever scrolling through Instagram every once in a while, and I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, there's 7 books.
Yeah, we got a long way to go. Yeah, I say, like, it does feel a little bit different, but in my day-to-day life, I don't know that it's making like a huge difference there, but I can't tell. Right now, it just feels too weird to kind of like know all these references and stuff. Like, I'm just like, I can't tell if I'm like happy that I know them or if it's kind of like a mixture of that and kind of like that loss of ignorance.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm just going to keep on getting less and less ignorant about it as we continue to read these books, and I'll be completely de-mugglified. Ooh, that could have been the name of our podcast too. De-Muggled. If we get sued by that other one, we'll change it to De-Muggled.
Well, thank you for reading the book with me, and I apologize for stripping you of that ultimate Muggle title.
It's all right. I had to go sometime.
Thank you to everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope you had a good time going through Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone with us and listening to all of Becki's ridiculous predictions. We are going to do a bonus episode next week where we're going to actually watch the first movie. And we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about what we think of the movie. The movie is pretty close to the book, so it probably won't be a long episode, but you're welcome to join us for that to hear our thoughts and Becki's thoughts on the movies. And also, we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from all the dozens and dozens of listeners of our podcast. We want to hear about your favorite Harry Potter memory.
Yeah, I want to hear your stories. I think it would help me maybe get a little more excited about it if I could hear kind of like what made it magical for you. And just kind of tap into that like childhood innocence of it. Yeah, I want to hear either like waiting in line for the books to come out or like Harry Potter World or anything that like made a big impact on you. Let me know.
So please, if you feel so inclined, you can send us a message on Twitter at Muggles Guide. You can send us a message on Instagram at Muggles Guide Podcast. We also have an email address. It's mugglesguidepodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email and tell us your favorite Harry Potter memories. I'm also going to leave all of those things in the show notes below, so you can just click on the podcast, click on the show notes, and those links will be there if you want to send us your favorite memories.
Yeah, and we'll pick a couple, we'll read them on air, and just kind of build this community a little more. And then after this, we're going to take a couple weeks off.
Yeah.
We got some things going on, and we are planning to jump back into book 2 shortly.
Yeah, we're going to take some time. We'll probably take a month off just to rest and recover a little bit.
So and worn out from reading this.
Prepare mentally for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Ooh.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. We will catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.